Look at this beautiful bar chart. Now, if I was to tell you that I could help increase your bench press by up to 25% within about 48 to 72 hours, you may give me a little bit of a perplexed look. Now, however, though, this was actually done in a double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled trial. Now, look at this chart. Now, I'm going to review it with you here. Look at that. Now, you have two sessions here. The first session, wow, amazing. Second session, it's still amazing, but still just the same. Below that, you're looking at basically the number of repetitions in regard to back squat. And then in the other chart, here's what's quite amazing. Not only were they able to increase the repetitions, they were also able to do this under the guise of reduced strain on the heart, knowing that the peak heart rate is lower in both categories. Pretty amazing compared to a placebo. Once again, double-blind, randomized, controlled trial. But what the heck? Let's get right into the study as follows. Are you ready? Here we go. All right. Short-term beetroot juice supplementation enhances strength, reduces fatigue, and promotes recovery in physically active individuals. A randomized, double-blind, crossover trial, and also to reiterate, placebo. Now, let's proceed as follows. The methods. They took 12 healthy men. All right, they completed 2 supplementation protocols involving BJ, that is their abbreviation for beetroot juice, providing 450 milligrams of nitrate per day and a nitrate-free placebo, the PLA. Each protocol consisted of 2 laboratory visits, one to assess the acute ergogenic effects, and the other to evaluate recovery after 72 hours, resulting in a total of 4 sessions over a 2-week period. During the 3 consecutive days of supplementation, participants ingested a single 900 milliliter dose, 15 grams, of beetroot juice powder. And the powder is important. We'll get to that in a second. 2 hours before the first session. That is another thing you see being repeated or iterated over and over again in a lot of studies. When it comes to beetroot juice powder, this 2-hour time frame seems to be pretty standard now in regard to studies. Something to keep in mind if and when you're supplementing on your own. Followed by 3 daily doses, 30 milliliter doses, 5 grams of beetroot juice over the next 2 days, a final dose of 15 grams of powder taken 2 hours before the second session, 72 hours post first session. All right, let's go through the other charts real fast so you get an idea. All right, now I took the liberty of using advanced Gemini and we changed the charts a little bit, put the placebo group comparison in the bar chart directly to the beetroot juice group, and you'll see more why in a second. All right, let's look at this real fast. This is the beet juice and resistance exercise movement velocity. Not only did they do more reps, they also did it with a little bit more velocity. And again, you look at the back squat down below, bench press at the top. Jump performance recovery over time. That is an incredibly phenomenal result. When you look at the comparison between the placebo and the beetroot juice group, that is quite astounding. All right, now look at the oxygen saturation. This is where it really began to shine. Check out again the oxygen saturation in reference to each exercise, back squat, and bench press. In regard to basically the back squat per se, that is just, wow. That's just taking it away. All right. And also, too, I want to give you, just for context, this is what the original charts look like. You see the placebo group separated from the beetroot juice group. So you have the 2 different columns in regard to the bar chart. So we used advanced Gemini, a little bit of Python, Jupyter Notebooks, and basically made it easy. Just took a few seconds. It was no biggie. All right. Now, to proceed forward, the backstory. All right. In sports nutrition, beetroot juice supplementation is primarily attributed to its high dietary nitrate, NO3 content, negative, content which upon ingestion follows a complex pathway. Upon ingestion, this dietary nitrate is reduced to nitrite by oral bacteria, which brings up the interesting question, do capsules work as well as powder? To keep in mind. And further converted into nitric oxide via the oral bacteria under hypoxic conditions. such as those during intense exercise. Under hypoxic conditions, such as those encountered during high-intensity resistance exercise, all right, the nitrite is further reduced to nitric oxide, a potent vasodilator that improves muscle blood flow, optimizes oxygen delivery, and enhances mitochondrial efficiency by reducing the oxygen cost of adenosine triphosphate production. Which brings us to a couple of highlights that I would like to basically elucidate upon. The improvements in strength performance coincided with cardiovascular adaptations. Beetroot juice significantly reduced peak heart rate compared to the placebo, indicating reduced cardiovascular strain. Also as well, highlight number 2, simultaneously, the NO enhances mitochondrial efficiency by reducing the oxygen cost of ATP production, thereby decreasing the metabolic drive for heart rate elevation. So therefore, decreasing the metabolic drive to raise the heart rate. Again, because of the nitric oxide, reducing the oxygen cost of ATP, adenosine triphosphate, citric acid cycle, Krebs cycle, whatever you want to call it. All right, as far as that pathway. Now to conclude. The current findings underscore beetroot juice multifaceted ergogenic potential across strength performance, cardiovascular regulation, autonomic function, and recovery. Beetroot juice intake appears to enhance both acute and short-term RT outcomes, particularly in high-intensity phosphagen-dependent tasks. Its benefits likely stem from the nitrate-mediated pathways promoting improved muscle function, perfusion, oxygen utilization, and neuromuscular efficiency. Interesting. Notably, the observed reductions in cardiovascular strain and improvements in heart rate variability suggest favorable autonomic adaptations that may support both exercise tolerance and recovery. Additionally, beetroot juice supplementation appears to accelerate neuromuscular recovery and attenuate muscle soreness, possibly through nitric oxide-related anti-inflammatory, antioxidative, and mitochondrial enhancing effects. Collectively, these outcomes position beetroot juice as a practical time-sensitive nutritional strategy for athletes seeking to optimize training performance and recovery during periods of intense resistance exercise. For practitioners, we recommend timing beetroot juice intake 2 to 3 hours pre-exercise to align with peak plasma and hydrate availability. This is really tough. Pairing acute beetroot juice supplementation, 50 milligrams of nitrates a day with antioxidant-rich foods to mitigate the potential of endogenous formation of nitrosyl compounds, NOCs, related risk. Reserving chronic use for targeting training faces a long-term safety chart that are established. And again, future trials with longer supplementation, they do recommend to see exactly the overall benefit or potential risks over time. That was tough. All right, again, gratitude to the researchers. Incredible, redundant results for beetroot juice powder. Again, the oral bacteria play a huge role, we postulate, in regard to the outcome. But wow, it works, according to the study, pretty darn fast and pretty darn phenomenal overall. And again, just incredible. I am humbled you watch and look forward to seeing what you and I both discover next week. Gratitude. Again, that was a tough one for other reasons. I'll catch you in a bit. Bye.